Loftus party people! Michael is off being deplorable this weekend. I believe he's being deplorable in Cleveland and Nashville, so he won't be with us today. So Kung Fu Rick and I have put together some of the best interviews we've done with the most interesting people.
I think they're going to like it, guys. I really think they're going to like it. And I don't just say that because I'm the guy putting it together.
Well, I think we do need to say one of them is with one of my personal favorites, which is Nick Searcy. And he has a movie out there called Gosnell. We talk a little bit about it in the audio, And basically, y'all need to know that that is available for download now. And I strongly suggest you go see it. Super important movie, and we should be giving our support to the guys on our side when they put a creative project out there.
This is true. We're not very good at doing that, and we need to fix that.
We definitely need to fix that. But anyway, so today you're going to hear our interviews with Nick Searcy, Michael Knowles, and Kurt Schlichter. Hope you enjoy.
As promised, you guys, we got Nick Searcy with us. Now, before I even get to talking with the man, an amazing. Go to this dude's Wikipedia. Go to this dude's IMDb page. We're talking Days of Thunder, Prince of Tides, Holy Castaway, which I just saw recently. Which amazing performance in that. The Ugly Truth, The Last Song, Moneyball, The Shape of Water, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing. This dude is Nick Searcy. He's an actor. He's a director. He's a filmmaker. He's a provocateur on Twitter. Nick, thanks for being here, man.
I'm also a really bad golfer. You forgot that.
All right.
Hey.
A really bad golfer. Fantastic.
Nice to be with you, Michael.
Okay, now I got so much stuff. I don't even know where to ask, so we're gonna go with the big one here.
Just relax. Don't be nervous. I know how excited you must be to speak to me, but it's normal. People feel like this all the time. Don't just relax.
I'm gonna try. I want to talk about. You've directed 2 films. You directed a piece in '95, which I'm guessing you did that on film, right? That was like an old school film camera, right?
Yes, we shot that on 35 millimeter film back before the digital age. Yeah.
Okay, so that's stress. That's a high level stress. Now you've got a new film coming out, Gosnell. And I guess you're all finished up on that. You wrapped a couple years ago, but now you've locked in a distribution deal. What was your experience like on that one? That's a bit bigger, yeah?
Yeah, it was a little bigger budget for me, and it was a great experience. Just I love directing. I love the thrill of trying to make a movie that way. It's kind of like being in a war. You have to, I mean, not to denigrate soldiers, but I mean it's it's a battle every day to get the thing done, and. I'm very excited that it's finally coming out. There was a while there when I thought that it just might never surface because it's a very controversial subject, and I think the producers had some difficulty getting a company to release it.
Well, in case you don't know, Gosnell, a big abortion doctor, right, in Philly?
Yeah. Well, basically, he was a murderer. He just the fact that he happened to be an abortion doctor was just the way he went about things. I mean, he was basically performing a lot of illegal abortions, and he was killing babies after they'd already been born. So that's what he was convicted of. He was convicted of murder.
Wow. So, and this is like one of the biggest underreported crime sprees. Because I found out about this like maybe 2-3 years ago. I'd never even heard of the guy. So
yeah.
Here's what as a filmmaker, and I apologize. Like, is it? I don't know how do you make this just like instead of just being like sad and maudlin? Is it a thriller? Are we on the side of the cops and we're trying to track this guy down, or is it like? Inside the mind of a how did you how did you go about it?
It's a thriller. It's definitely a crime drama. It's all about how they caught him and how they prosecuted him. That's basically what it is. Because I just thought that any other way of going about it would just be too maudlin and would make the movie unwatchable.
Yeah.
But, I wanted the story to get out there, but I did also want it to be something that people could actually sit through without losing their lunch,
Yeah,
So-
that's a tough one. I mean, just as a subject matter. Now, did the producers like reach out to you, or like it's tough, man. I don't know. Granted, you've done a boatload of films. I just named a handful, and you've been acting for a very long time, and most talented people eventually want to direct. But like, what made you say yes to this project?
Well, when they first contacted me, I was a friend of theirs, and they just said, "Do you know anybody who might be interested in directing this film?" And I gave them a couple of names, and those names didn't pan out. And they came back to me, and I said, "Well, I did direct a film a few years ago. I might do it, depending on the script." And I sent them a copy of the movie that I directed, and they asked me to come on board. And yeah,
That's great.
after I read the script, I was kind of tentative about it until I read the script. And when I read the script, I thought, okay, this is a story that needs to be told, and it's one of those rare instances where you can kind of participate in something that you actually think might be important,
Yeah. Well, and how I'm sure have you screened this for critics, and what's the feedback been?
It's been screened for a lot of different groups. The feedback has been very positive. They haven't screened it for critics. I know what the critics are going to say. I mean, I'm not going to pay any attention to that, but it's been very well received by the audiences that have watched it. So.
That's fantastic. Now, was there like a breakout person for you? Now, I know you have to be somewhat political because you got a big cast. You got to be nice to everybody. But is there a performance in the film that just stands out where you're like, wow, I didn't know this guy or this girl just had it in them?
I would say both in the case of Dean Cain, who delivers a really gritty, down-to-earth performance that I haven't seen him do anything like this before, and he's really terrific in it. And Sarah Jane Morris, who's basically the lead in the film, she's the lead prosecutor. She really, it's a brave, touching, wonderful performance from her. And a lot of almost all I have like 6 notes from different actresses in the movie who basically wrote me saying, "Thank you for giving my first role." So
wow.
There's a lot of first-time actresses in this movie, and they all are pretty amazing. And a lot of that, of course, is due to me because I'm such a genius. But
well, I tell you, I know you're joking around, but like that is a huge part of it. You don't want an adversarial role with your cast. They got to feel comfortable. They got to feel you kind of have to shepherd them on this journey, but you got to get what you want out of it. I'd love to direct as well someday, but it's like such a daunting task. Like, what was the biggest challenge?
Really, time, the budget, and the amount of time that we had to spend. That was the biggest challenge because we shot the movie in 21 days, and really it should have been 30.
Yeah, but that's like a Clint Eastwood schedule right there.
Yeah, it really is. It's like a TV movie schedule. But back in the 80s when they made TV movies,
they should bring those back.
Yeah, they should. I guess they can't figure out how to make that profitable anymore. But yeah, I mean that was really the biggest challenge. Is you got to get so much done in a day, and but thankfully I had a great crew. I had a great DP, Mark Peterson, who did a fantastic job, and it really came together beautifully. I mean, I'm very proud of it. It's a nice.
I cannot wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it. Now I want to get to you a little bit as an actor. Some of the directors that you've worked with, insane. Barbra Streisand, Tony Scott, Robert Zemeckis, holy smoke, Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, well, of those that you mentioned, only Barbra Streisand is actually insane. But
what was she to work like? You guys, you were Prince of Tides. You were on
Yeah. It was a long. It was no. She's perfectly nice. I was just kidding. It was a long time ago, and I was only there for one day. But in the movie, I basically have one scene where I'm at a party and I asked Nick Nolte to dance with me.
Yeah.
And Barbara Streisand, when I auditioned for the movie, I kind of came in like leather gear. Like a lot of the other people that were auditioning for it were kind of preppy and nicely dressed. And I had on a leather cap, a tank top, and a chain and stuff. And she kind of didn't get it when I did my audition. She looked at me and she said, I might want to use you for one of the rapists. And I think the story goes that she showed the tapes of the auditions to Nick Nolte, and Nick Nolte said, "You should get the leather guy." So
Nolte, now was he nuts on that movie?
I had a great time with him. The people that were in the scene with me were Nick Nolte and George Carlin.
Oh, so, my Lord!
Yeah, it was great. It was just.
I did. I was a what you call an extra. Came very, very close to a speaking part in this movie called Teachers with Nick Nolte.
Yeah.
And he must have been going through something back then.
Yeah.
Because wow, he was pajama pants and robe, and he was out there. Old Nick was out there. Does a great Nick. Kevin James does the best Nick Nolte impression ever in the history of ever. Yeah. Okay. So, holy smoke! I saw Castaway in the movie theater, and I really did not like it at all. Didn't like it at all. I just watched it again a couple weeks ago, and had an epiphany. I'm like, wow, I totally missed this movie. Like I got it wrong, and I'm watching it, and then you show up in it, and dude. I want to tell you what, and I tweeted about it. Like, that was a fantastic performance.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
I mean, it's a very rare quality. I want to keep blowing smoke here just for a little bit longer. But it's like the everyman to me is the hardest thing for an actor to do. Like, and Robert Duvall would back me up on this. It's easy to play, oh, I'm paralyzed, I can only move my head. Oh, I'm blind, who's talking? There's just like little tricks you can get away with. But dude, that was a fantastic performance in Castaway.
Well, you're very sweet. That's I appreciate that. It was great fun, and of course, an honor to work with Zemeckis and Hanks. And, that came about, I think, partially. I had worked with Hanks a little bit on From the Earth to the Moon. He produced that, and I met him when I was working on that show.
Oh, I had it flipped. I thought you met Hanks on Castaway, and then you did. You were Deke Slayton, yeah?
Yeah, no, that came first. And From the Earth to the Moon was really. I was on that show for like 12 episodes, and I met everybody in Hollywood, I think. I met Hanks, and then I met Graham Yost, and then for 15 years after I did that, I was writing Graham Yost going, I thought you liked me. I thought we were friends. What, you're doing all this stuff, and you never cast me, and then finally he told me he gave me Justified just to shut me up.
Oh man, I haven't seen Justified. I gotta get into that. I'm a huge Timothy Oliphant fan. He was amazing. What was the series he did on HBO? Deadwood.
Yeah, he's all right.
He doesn't suck. He's got that. I can barely contain my rage thing down. I've never seen anybody do that. Just like he's just so angry and it's just simmering. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we had a great time on that show. Most of my stuff on that show, you'll see when you watch it. I mean, 90% of what I do on that show is talk to him. So, okay. But yeah, we had a great time.
Now, I just want to get this out there. You were also you were a series regular on Rodney with my old friend Rodney Carrington, and I had no idea. Oh my God, I've been in Hollywood for a while. I've been fortunate enough. I've written on a few shows. Blah 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 blah. But like before any of that happened, I had met Rodney, and I'd never seen anything like it. I had never seen anything like it. We were working at a comedy club in Louisville, Kentucky, and there was like 25 people on the first night. He was so funny. I like my women like I like my chicken, just a little bit of fat on the end. He's doing his little songs. He's just a goofball. Yeah. He's just this oaky, goofball, lovable idiot. And just to watch the audience just grow and grow and grow until by Friday night it was just standing room only. It was hilarious. So I moved out to LA. Oh, it's completely amazing. So I moved out to Hollywood, and then I'm doing stand up at like the Improv in Phoenix or something. And Rodney's doing like a theater. He comes out to see. He ends his show, comes over to see my show, and he's like, "Do you ever move out to LA? They keep trying to convince me to go." Now, if you don't know Rodney, that's spot on.
Yeah, it is. It is.
They keep trying to get me to come out there, and I'm like, I went to the head of ABC, and I'm like, what do you pay John Ritter? When you want to pay me what you pay John Ritter, then I'll do the dang show. And he was completely for real, and it worked. It was hilarious.
Yeah, we did 2 seasons, and when I met Rodney, I just auditioned for it and met him, and we did the pilot, and we just hit it off. We were really good friends right from the beginning, and I'd never really heard of Rodney before. I'd been in L.A. all this time, and I didn't know that he was such a big comedian out in the middle of the country. And after we got done, I was flying back to North Carolina, and he said, "Why don't you just come with me and you stop in I think we went to, I can't remember exactly, St. Louis. We went to St. Louis on his private jet to see his show." Yeah. And we go in and there's 5,000 people there and they know every word to every song. And I was like, oh my God, who is this man?
Exactly. See, here's the deal, Nick. You were living in a bubble, and Rodney was out there in the middle of America. He's the Donald Trump of stand-ups.
I know, and he's still killing it. I mean, I just talked to him last week. He works every weekend and goes back home, and he says, "Man, I'm done with that LA stuff. I'm not ever coming out there ever again."
He is a genius. And oddly enough, you're a fantastic golfer. Rodney taught me to golf.
Yeah,
I never golfed. And he's always complaining about his wife. The first day I met him, I tell you what, man, my wife just spends all my money. She just spends all my money. He didn't have a car. This is before he was huge. He didn't have a car. He's like, "Can you take me to the mall? Can you take me to the mall? It's white hat season. It's white hat." And I'm like, I take him to the mall, and the guy blows $300 on a white cowboy hat. I'm like, yeah, your wife's the problem. Your wife is the problem.
Yeah. No, Rodney's a character for sure.
Hilarious.
And the other thing I directed was a music video for Rodney. So,
are you kidding me?
No, I did a music video for his song "If I'm the Only One," and he plays it now at all his concerts. He plays it in the pre-show.
That's fantastic, man. Now, but before I let you go, and this is fantastic because it gives me hope. As I'm on Twitter, I'm doing this Loftus Party thing and trying to maintain a career in Hollywood, and I see your tweets, and I'm like, okay, here's because dude, I always hold back. I always hold back. I'm pumping the brakes 9 times out of 10 because I'm like, I don't. But you let it rip, dude.
Yeah, you're probably smart. You probably should keep No, I just, at a certain point, I think I just got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to put up with this. I don't care. I'm going to be myself and let the chips fall where they may. And if somebody doesn't want to work with me because of my politics, then I probably wouldn't enjoy the experience anyway. So the hell with it,
But has it gotten in the way ever? Have you been on the set and someone says something and you bite your tongue? Has it ever been? Because with me, I was writing on the old George Lopez show, the sitcom, and I had a producer. A buddy of mine said something about Bush, in support of Bush, and this woman was like, "I can't believe we've got Republicans on the staff." And me and my butt got really quiet really quick, Yeah,
I know. Well, you know what? Everybody knows what my politics are, and I don't talk politics on the set. I mean, if somebody brings it up, I just go, it's not something I'm willing to discuss here. I don't think it's the proper forum unless you'd like to talk about Jesus too. They sort of leave me alone after that. But yeah, I just it's just a policy. What I do on Twitter and when I speak on the radio or whatever I do, that's one thing. But I don't like the people that talk politics at work. I think it's rude. I think it's rude because there's a power imbalance there, and there's definitely people on the crew that are not going to speak up if one of the stars starts going on and on about what a racist Trump is or how awful Republicans are. Yeah. Because a lot of the crew's mixed. The crew isn't 100% Democrat, but they can't. That it's not fair. If they open their mouths, they'll get fired.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
So I just don't do that.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, one more question: did you ever turn down a part or lose out a part and just look back and go, man, I messed up. I wish I could have a do-over on that. Like famously, like Tom Selleck was supposed to be Indiana Jones. James Caan turned down the lead in Kramer versus Kramer. Do you have one of those famous like the part that got away stories?
And no, I don't really. I think I must have accepted every part that somebody offered me.
That's fantastic.
I just went, okay, how much? I might have turned a few things down because I didn't think there was enough money or it was too far to travel or it conflicted with something, but I never did turn down a role just because I didn't like it,
Well, hey, that's cool. I am digging it. So what's next? Are you gonna go back to directing? Are you acting? What's next?
Well, I'm still acting once in a while, and I have a couple of projects that I'm developing. One's a wrestling script, and one is a script about gospel quartet music in the 60s, which, as you might imagine, is a really hot topic right now.
That's the one that's going to sell. That's the one that's going to sell. I'll tell you right now.
Right, but I do hope to direct some more. I've gotten to that age where most of the parts people offer me are kind of boring. They're the same things that I've already done, and it's like the old guys don't get to do that much unless you're Robert Duvall.
Well, dude, you are killing it. You're crushing it. Don't change anything. A fine actor, a great director. Everybody, you need to go out and see Gosnell on October 12th.
Absolutely. So, that first weekend is key. Everybody go on opening day.
Yeah, you gotta make that algorithm happen. Let's beat the machine. Right. Nick, thank you so much for being on the show, dude. Have a good one. I'll let you get back to golf, I'd love to talk to you in the future, brother. You guys, I met Michael a few weeks ago. He's an awesome dude. He's a fun guy. He's got an incredibly successful show over at the Daily Wire. Here is Michael Knowles. Make some kind of signal.
Hearken to the voice. I think we've figured out that AT&T is a little less censorious of us than big technology companies. So Skype is killing us. All of the online companies are killing us. But AT&T will let us speak. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
I rejoice. I totally rejoice. I remember in the olden days when Skype was wonderful, when it was a magical, mystical place, and then Bill Gates and the crew took over, and it's been downhill ever since. It's been horrible ever since. But now we're communicating, so that's great. In our first attempt, we were talking about, we did this event, and I feel bad because I feel like I should give him a plug. You and I were on a panel during down at the Melrose Improv. For that, it was during the whole Brett Kavanaugh thing. I had done a little bit of stand-up. I was feeling my oats and professing my love for this president. But then during the panel thing, I thought I'd ease back. I'm like, maybe I've gone too far. Maybe I went too fast. And then you just came out and started throwing haymakers, dude. It was awesome.
You know what I think it is? I think it's because when you go do these things, they'll buy you a free drink. So I had at least one martini coursing through my veins. And I was so frustrated by that outrageous Brett Kavanaugh controversy these women, now at least one of them is being criminally investigated. I think two of them are, for making false claims, trying to derail this guy who's the most milquetoast, upstanding federal judge you could possibly think of. And it was very funny because I think the majority of the audience probably wasn't with us. But this gets to my entire theory on the culture wars, which is that we should, if there is, as some commentators have suggested, a cold civil war or a cold cultural war, our strategy should not be to be kumbaya and to be conciliatory. It should be we win, they lose. The left is always aggressive in the culture wars, and the right should be aggressive too. And I think now, for the first time, certainly in my lifetime, we're actually winning.
Well, I wish that were the case. In terms of the culture war, I still think we're getting our butts handed to us. I've got a shocking update that I've been out in Hollywood doing my thing, and at the end of January, I've got some shocking updates. I don't like the numbers of it in terms of you can go and watch Samantha Bee rail on the president every night. You can watch Stephen Colbert rail on the president every night, and Trevor Noah and Jim Jeffries, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Now, this is the question I ask all the time on the podcast. Where is the answer show to that? Where can people go to hear jokes about the left? If you're not subscribing to a service, where can you go? Where would you go if you weren't?
That's exactly the issue. I mean, now I remember a little while ago that magazine covered all the late night comedians, and they were all 100% of them left wing. Why is that? It's because the gatekeepers, you know this just as well as anybody, the gatekeepers in Hollywood are not going to give a major late night show to a conservative. They're all in the same political club. And so luckily the new media have offered some outlets. I mean, there are places, obviously we're on a new media platform right now, and so that has given conservatives a voice. It's why conservatives totally own the internet and do so well there, is because it's the Wild West, or at least it was until recently. And this is why the censorship from big technology, which is not just their free voices, but now they're censoring and banning mainstream conservatives. I had my Twitter taken away indefinitely because I told a lame dad joke about the election. I said Republicans vote on Tuesday, Democrats vote on Wednesday, and they banned me. They took me off of Twitter. And then ironically, Democrats took my advice and they voted Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we had recounts this week. This is a major threat. You know, if we don't get a handle on this censorship issue, then even this one place that we've managed to find in the culture is going to be taken away from us.
That's my concern as well. I've not been banned yet from Twitter. I've not been banned yet from Facebook. However, that's why I started the LoftusParty.com. You just have to have some kind of toehold in the actual internet. Now, here's what I want to know. How did you get in with? How did you become part of the crew over at the Daily Wire?
The best advice I can possibly give, if you want to get a political podcast at the Daily Wire, is don't write a book. I spent my entire life researching a book that had no words in it, called Reasons to Vote for Democrats, a comprehensive guide. And so as a result of that, we launched my show, because that book, which truly, of all of the stunts I've ever pulled, I thought that one would be just a little joke to irritate my Democrat friends. And it became the #1 best-selling book in the world for about a week and a half. And then the president...
That's outrageous!
Oh, it was insane. And, you know, because the president spends probably a third of his day irritating his opponents on Twitter, he decided to endorse it as a great book for everyone who told it. And so then it jumps back up again. So he did that. But, you know, really the way that I got involved with the Daily Wire is because conservatives in Hollywood, you know this well, are a beleaguered group. You know, they are constantly under siege. And so we all kind of know each other, and we'll hang out together. And so I knew those guys, Jeremy Boring, Dan, Andrew Flavin, through those kinds of circles. And so the Daily Wire started 3 years ago, and it's totally exploded. And I think the reason it's exploded is just simple supply and demand. As you said at the beginning, there are all of these outlets for the left, but the right has not had those opportunities. So if you give them some commentary, humor, some whatever, some news, they're going to jump right onto it. I think we've got to thank the left in a sort of backwards way for setting the stage for conservatives to have success on the internet.
Yeah, I think so too, but it almost seems like, and maybe this speaks more to me being a pessimist, but it seems like they just keep picking people off one at a time. Like, I'm no huge Alex Jones fan, but he's gone. He's been non-person. And I was reading a Jordan Peterson tweet. I guess Patreon kicked off Milo Yiannopoulos, and now like Gavin McInnes has been declared like an enemy of the people by the FBI.
It's unbelievable, because I knew that this would happen when they banned Alex Jones. Some conservatives said, well, he's just a shirtless vitamin salesman who thinks the clubs are gay. You know, who cares that they knocked him off? And I said, it's not about Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a test run. He's a trial balloon to kick off all of the rest of us. You kick off Alex, okay, you say he's really fringy. Then you kick off Gavin McInnes. Well, Gavin McInnes, I mean, he's been around a long time, found his life. He's a comedian, so he's getting in trouble for telling jokes. Isn't that what comedians do? Who's next? I mean, next is obviously all of the rest of us. And I think you've got it harder even than we do. I mean, we do political commentary, and so we're always throwing haymakers. But for conservative comedians, I mean, there simply are not that many. And your set at the Improv totally killed. So funny. And I think the audience was shocked because they haven't heard that. They haven't heard right-wing comedians before. I don't even think they knew that they existed. And it's just, when it's such a small group, it's so much easier for the left to just go in, target, and silence them.
Yeah. I'm doing this new thing now. I was down at the Comedy and Magic Club at Hermosa Beach recently, and I've got this new way of I talk about political correctness and how Europe has gone crazy. And I'm making fun of the English because they're going to ban the word brainstorm, and they're outlawing knives and all this. And everybody's on board. 100% of the audience is on board. And then I go, and now with America, and that's why I like Trump. And boy, it's just, you can just watch them have meltdowns. It's fantastic. And they're conflicted. They're like, I like this guy, but I'm not supposed to like this guy, but I like this guy. It's fantastic.
Right. He's won me over, and now there's this entire movement to go back and whatever any comedian has ever told a joke about, even if it was 10 years ago, to go back and, if it's violating the spirit of the times, make them persona non grata. We saw that with Kevin Hart at the Oscars. It's not as though Kevin Hart is some right-wing, rock-ribbed conservative. Even he was taken down by it. It's certainly evidence that if you marry yourself to the spirit of the age, you'll find yourself a widow in the next. But where does that stop? I mean, now that it's even affecting left-wing comedians, does that give the rest of us hope?
Well, I think it does, as they're going to have to admit they're going too far. Like, Trevor Noah has to be breathing a huge sigh of relief, because I remember like a week after he got the gig, and Trevor, I know Trevor, and you know, he's a good guy, but he was throwing out some kind of, he had some jokes about the Jewish community that were terrifying. Like, if those came out now, he loses everything. He's back to doing stand up in Soweto.
That's right. You know, you look at him and you think, well, if they're going to eat their own, you know, this is a pretty strange state of affairs. But I really wonder with all, I mean, I don't know, good thing there aren't any Jewish people in Hollywood, so there's no one for him to offend. But, you know, somebody like Kevin Hart, he made a joke about gay people. How many comedians have never once made a gay joke? Zero? I mean, is there one comedian on earth who's never made a gay joke? If that is now the bar, which is simply not allowed to laugh?
Yeah, and I tell you, well, and it's. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who they're going to get to host the Oscars. It'll just be. It'll be interesting to see, because every comic has a bad joke. Every comic has a distasteful joke. Every comic the good ones anyway have somehow, hopefully they pushed some kind of boundary and done something mildly offensive. You show me somebody who's completely unoffensive, and I'm going to show you a lousy comic.
Well, that's exactly right. And what's pretty bizarre now is that nobody is allowed to laugh. There's simply no permission to laugh. Obviously, this is because the left doesn't find so much humor in this present moment. You have Jimmy Kimmel crying on his program every night instead of giving a comedy monologue. But how do you recover that? I mean, all the good comics that I see have a sense of humor, and I mean that very literally, and a sense of balance. They can detach themselves from the world, they can have a little distance, they can laugh about things. It just seems like these comedians now who are whining and shrieking and crying about the president they're just too close to it. It's so emotional for them that they don't have the distance to laugh about it.
Yeah, and really, I think it's whoa. I think it's awesome, and it's one of the great side effects of the Trump presidency is that like all these masks are now are all off, and you see the personal politics on everybody's every late night comedian side. You see the personal politics of the mainstream media. There's kind of a relief in knowing whose side everybody is on. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's such a good point. I totally agree with that. We hear that Twitter is coarsening our culture and social media is coarsening our culture. Perhaps it is, but really what it's just doing is exposing people. Do we really think that Jim Acosta and Don Lemon were objective, fair-minded journalists 3 years ago, and they've simply shifted because of Donald Trump? Of course not. Donald Trump, in his highly trollish way, has simply provoked them into exposing who they are. Yes, Anderson Cooper, the so-called journalist on CNN, referred to Tea Party constitutional conservatives as teabaggers in what was 2013 or even earlier. This, letting this facade fall down, I think, really benefits all of us because it's perfectly fine if you want to read Vox.com, but then maybe you should read the Daily Wire too. It's perfectly fine if you want to read the New York Times. Maybe you should read the Wall Street Journal too. It's the pretense of objectivity and fair-mindedness that is so pathetic, and now I think nobody believes it.
Yeah, a study came out. I think the number's up to like something like 90% of the Americans realize that the media is biased, and that's the wonderful side effect. Hey, this is insanely interesting, and I love it, and I'm a huge fan of everything that's going on over the Daily Wire. There's a couple of questions that I just have to get to, so it's a horrible transition here. But like, do you have plans to write another book? I'm sure you can't do a follow up to Reasons to Vote Democrat, but are you working on another book?
Well, you're using the word "another," I think, fairly liberally, but I see the point. I think that my next magnum opus will be a 3-volume Caro-esque biography of the Hillary Clinton presidency, and I think it will have very similar content to my first book. Maybe a little more blank pages. No, I actually am working on a book now. This shows you how far down publishing has fallen. When they bought my blank book, part of my contract was that I had to write a real book. And I tried to tell them that not writing a book in no way suggests that a person can write a book. But nevertheless, I'm giving it the old college try now. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, is it going to be about the rise and fall of Clinton, or can you give me any clues?
Yes, so I've been going on this Young America's Foundation speaking tour to all of these colleges where, the leftist tears poured out. I've basically been whitewater rafting my way from coast to coast. And the topic of this tour has broadly been the simple joys of being right. There are a bunch of studies that show that right-wingers are much happier, more satisfied with life, much more content, find greater purpose, have more stable lives. And so I've been examining a series of spoofs why that is, and I think this book is going to take a more detailed look at that question.
That's fantastic, and I love the whole hypothesis, and I believe it's correct. But I'm going to wait for your insightful, wonderful book. I just wrote an article for my website, theloftusparty.com, about statistically the right is having better sex and more of
That's
it.
right.
More of it. It's great. We're having more
I
sex,
just saw this.
and it's freakier.
Republicans and conservatives have statistically significantly more and better sex than left-wingers. No surprise to me. The other, so many other of these studies come out. There was one at the university that showed that a quarter of college students now, 2 years after the presidential election, are suffering symptoms of PTSD, clinically high levels of stress, because a Republican won the White House. It would be akin to someone who witnessed a mass shooting incident 7 months after that incident. Something has clearly gone wrong in the balance and psychological balance of these people. You've got to figure it out.
I think I really do, and this is going to sound hacky as as one comedian to another. This is a totally hack premise, but I think it's what it is. It all goes back to everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a ribbon. We overcompensated. This whole self-esteem is the most important thing. We way overcompensated. Now we're reaping the horrible rewards from that, and this is why I don't like big government in control of education. It's why I don't like big government in charge. They make mistakes, and when they do, the ramifications are like PTSD because somebody won the election. That's insane.
You're exactly right. The participation trophy analogy is exactly right because it applies politically. Politically speaking, these millennials all came of age in the age of Obama. Maybe during the 2006 elections, they were somewhat politically aware, which was the other wave election for Democrats, and so they've constantly won. They've always gotten what they want politically. They've gotten it in Congress, they've gotten it in the Senate, they've gotten it at the White House. And so they think that there is a road to progress. They think there's a utopia that we're marching for. That's the definition of a progressive. And so if you stand in the way of progress with a capital P, you've either got to be an idiot or evil. You've got to have bad intentions. And so when they see this happen, they can't believe that people would impede their vision of progress. They simply don't believe it. And I think they didn't know it was even logically possible. And so now, they're suffering PTSD. If only they'd gotten, punched a little bit in high school or something, they might learn that life doesn't always go their way.
Exactly. Dude, I couldn't. This is the big time agreement at the end of the interview agreement. You're absolutely right. Having to deal with things that don't go your way, and I either have to try a different method, I have to try harder, I have to learn to accept this. It's wonderful, dude. We could do this for hours and hours and hours. One last question before I let you go. This is just a wild curveball. What's the last piece of music you've downloaded? What's the last thing that you're like, ooh, I gotta buy that song? What's the band?
Oh, let's see. The last piece of music oh my gosh, this is an extraordinarily embarrassing answer. But, as someone who occasionally wears bow ties, what can I say? The last piece of music I downloaded is a song from an album called Music from the Time of the Crusades. It's called Abjoy et Abjoven Apais. This explains to you how Middle Easterners become radicalized in Islam. The culture is so weak and shallow and frivolous today that I am now downloading songs from, the 13th century. This cannot bode well for the world order or for our culture.
Okay. All right. Listen, I have to hear this.
It's really incredible. You're going to want to strap on the Red Cross and start marching to, Deus Vult into Constantinople or something once you listen to it. It's you really got to proceed with caution.
I tell you what, we have to get in your, seriously, dude, we have to make a video of this. I want to get in your car. We're going to crank up some Crusades music and just cruise down Sunset.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the reactions. I think it's going to be similar to the first Crusade. You're going to see similar reactions from the people in La La Land.
That's fantastic. Hey, Michael Knowles, check out his show. He's got a phenomenal show over the Daily Wire. Incredible podcast. Very funny dude. I really appreciate you being so patient with us, and I'm serious. We have to make a music video for the Crusades.
Let's do it, man. I'm in.
As promised, we got the one and only Kurt Schlichter here with us today on the Loftus Party. Hey, good morning, Kurt.
How you doing?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not digging the weather. You and I, now here's what, we met briefly at a CPAC like 2 years ago,
Right.
an insanely lame year. I thought it was going to be like just conservatives going nuts. It was very tidy. It was very low key, but we're both Southern California guys. I didn't know that about you. I don't know why. I always thought you were like an East Coast guy.
Oh God, no! I'm a Californian.
Now, are you born and raised out here?
I was born in Ohio, and then I moved to Northern California at like age 6.
Okay, hold the
Right
phone.
near San Francisco.
I'm from Ohio. I grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Where are you from in the Buckeye State?
Cincinnati, home of weird chili.
That chili's the best. Cincinnati chili. Holy smoke. Okay. All right. So we won't regale people with stories of chili. I want to get into some hardcore meat. You've served your country. You're quite outspoken on Twitter, and you're an author. I don't even know where to start. Let's
I'm
start
I'm a multi-talented Renaissance man.
a Renaissance man. So here's what I don't understand. And you're a practicing lawyer as well, yeah?
That is true. I do.
And you're a
I do the
poet?
law thing.
And you're a poet, and you also
I'm a
tour with
poet.
Cirque du Soleil.
Well, I'm a noted rapper.
What's your rap name?
MC Cool Slick, and I continually drop rhymes and bust moves. I have a lot of street credibility. I unite the east side, the west side, and the south side. What the hell with those north side guys? They can kiss my.
That's what I was about to say. It's those the north side people. They've really dug in. You can't even.
I
talk.
know. Really, and their raps are lame and unimaginative, and mostly revolve around what they had for lunch. A lot of food-based raps in the North Side.
Yes, they're all about that. And I've seen you at a lot of the MC battles in downtown Los Angeles.
And it's ugly, you'll get in there, and the North Side guys are just not good. He's like, yo, I was eating hummus, and you're dumbass.
Right?
No, that's not a great rap.
No, it's not.
And they rhyme falafel with careful. I just think that's lazy.
It is. It's lazy freestyle. And I hope someday we can bring the North Side people back into the MC battle fold. But I think sadly we have to give up on them now because it's just the fact that you've united the East Coast and the West Coast and the South Side. Is huge, and that's
I built bridges. I'm an engineer. I'm the United Nations of hip hop.
Okay,
it's pretty clear.
We have that in common.
MC Cool Slick.
MC Cool Slick. That's old school, and I love it. Okay, I want to talk about Indian country. I was on Twitter last night scrolling through. There was some woman saying that she had just dove into Indian country. Is that your first book? Your second book? What?
Oh, I don't even know what number it is. It's my second novel. The first one is People's Republic. And I'm actually writing a third called Wildfire. I'm about a third through it. And I have the cover. It is badass. And then I've got...
Good, because that's how I judge.
Well, yes! Don't get me started on cover, because I have a publisher for the other one, Militant Normals, which is coming out in October. And that's nonfiction. And... I'm going to write 3 books this year.
Okay, now this is one thing that like fascinates me. I'm a stand-up comedian and a writer.
I was a stand-up. You seem pretty stable for a stand-up.
You know what it is? I don't like to crank it up. in the early morning hours. I save most of my comedy for the actual performance. Here's what I find insanely boring. If you've ever hung out with a comedian that doesn't have an off switch and they have to constantly try to prove how funny they are, that is tedious and boring, and I cannot stand it.
All the comedians I used to hang out, because we do like a thing at Victorville, and like 4 of us would go up there, and we'd be in the car, and my wife would be in the car, and they're like the least funny people.
Yes,
they're all like, I got a lot of personal issues. My mom's sick. I don't have a lot of money for food. And I was still a lawyer. I was still in the Army at the time too. And I was like I just liked being funny. I was a much better writer than performer. And everyone wanted to write with me because I can, I'm funny. But I would go out and I'd do shows with people wherever. And I had this group of friends who really wanted to be full-time stand-ups. And a lot of them were just sad. Yeah. A lot of them were like, I got a lot of personal problems. I don't know why. I was always happy. Maybe that's what made me not want to keep doing stand-up, or the fact that Uncle Sam made me come back on active duty.
Right. It was always a real bummer when you go out. You would go out on the road, and you're like a happy-go-lucky guy, and you would be hanging out with like the bad luck schlep rocks of the world.
I think that's just. I think it's easier to be unhappy as a comic. Just like it's easy to, if you're a girl comic, hey, I got this tampon bit. Or, if you're a guy, what's the deal with chicks? And a lot of people would fall into their, comic stereotype. I remember people would push me, do lawyer jokes. And I'm like, no, I'm not a lawyer. A lawyer is just simply one of the things I do. I've got a lot of things I want to talk about. And, though I did have some funny lawyer bits, it wasn't because I was a lawyer. It was because I always tried to be funny. I was funny before I was a lawyer. I was writing jokes in the 80s. You remember NTN? You go to bars and they have those trivia questions.
Yeah.
I wrote the TV ones.
That's great.
Remember that? Yeah, they go in like what was McCoy's nickname in Star Trek, and then they'd have like a little joke about Star Trek. Hold on, I'm walking through the house and the dog's barking because a freaking kid didn't bring his keys, so I'm on like a show opening the door for you. All right, that's my woke 8-year-old.
Oh, is he one of those that like, I asked my dad this morning if I could go to the protest with him, and
yeah, I asked my dad, why does Trump hate young Guatemalan immigrants seeking a new life away from economic and terrorist hardship?
Those are my
favorite
tears in
his
tweets.
Eyes.
Those
I
are my
love
favorite.
Those.
Hey, so really quickly,
mine's all more like single malt. Dad, why do some people drink single malt?
How will the tariffs hurt the bourbon
exactly.
industry?
Dad,
so hey, did you ever do stand up?
How's the aluminum tariff regimen going to affect America's trade relations with Norway?
My 4-year-old was asking me that last night. It was crazy.
Exactly.
Did you ever do stand up at Go Bananas?
Okay. Let's see. I did the Giggle Works.
Yeah.
The Chuckle Barn. Laughies. Chucklies.
There was a great club in Cincinnati called Go Bananas, and it was fantastic. It was like in the basement.
I never did anything on the East Coast.
Okay, all right. So you came out west, and you've done the
at age 6.
At age 6, wow. So yeah.
I couldn't take Ohio. People were open and genuine there, and I had to get away from that.
Okay, so I want to get back to the writing, because like it's all I can do to like churn out a 44-page sitcom. That's like a lot of work. I really, really admire people who write books. How do you handle the full-time job of being a lawyer? And I know you do Fox News a bunch. You're on a lot of those shows, and now you say you're writing 3 books this year. Do you have like a writing partner or an assistant? How do you do it?
Well, my wife reads every night, so. But no, I look. I was in the Army. I was a colonel in the Army. I know how to manage time. I fill up every minute. It's very rare that you'll see me just sitting. Even while I'm tweeting, I'm still building the brand, writing jokes while I'm sitting. Now, I think writing a good sitcom would be harder than writing a novel. Writing a novel is not hard. It just takes time because I write everything in my head before it even gets on paper. I do that in court too. I've won most of my court cases, walking the dog or jogging around. And when you're putting stuff on paper, that's the end of the process. Well, not the end, because the end is editing. But the end of that's not the beginning of the process. But a sitcom is different because first of all, you've got to make every line hit.
And that's really tough.
Yeah. It's like a set. Writing a sitcom is a particular kind of script. Now, I've had a script optioned. It was about zombies. It was great.
Fantastic.
It could have been made for like $50,000, but I never got around to making it. In any case, but no, when you're writing a sitcom script, you're going to have to do, every line has to be something. It's like my town hall stuff. I write my town hall stuff like a stand-up set. There's no fat. I don't do intros. It's either setup, punch, or tag. Yeah, and that's what you're doing with a sitcom script. But if you read my town hall stuff, you'll see I write like a stand-up. Look at the structure of each sentence. The joke, if I do it right, occasionally I'll read through and I'll go, dang, I didn't do it right. The joke lands at the end of the sentence, not in the middle.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention the town hall column. That thing is wildly popular. Seriously, dude. And I'm not trying to blow smoke, but like, what time do you get started? I just don't think I have the work. I need to attend the Kurt Schlichter School of Time Management.
I don't feel like I'm busy. I only do things I like, so it makes it easier. I'm 53. I'm retired out of the military after 27 years. I've been a lawyer for 25. I'm at the point in my life where I don't do things I don't like. So, and I feel like I've got plenty of time to do stuff. I stopped and we watched a terrible movie on Netflix for a couple hours last night and laughed at it and shot jokes. I don't even remember what was it called. The movie we watched last night. It was like Troy, and it had the crack in it.
That's fantastic.
Because there's no Troy. Like the crack, and my son's like, "Isn't that my woke 8-year-old? He's like, "Isn't that Norwegian mythology?" I'm like, they're rolling. And of course, then they had to get to where they're going. Odysseus had to go home by the paths of the dead, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's Lord of the Rings. Wait, what are you doing? They took all this stuff, and the highlight was they had this hot girl who was like, because there's always like a hot warrior girl now.
You
for
need
some
that.
reason.
That's necessary.
Right, and she's wearing like a little leather skirt, which you would think is hot, but underneath, really obviously, she's got bike shorts.
That's hilarious. And
we're just rolling. But I had like 2 hours that I had time. I didn't like, no, I've got to be typing out more of Kelly Turnbull's adventures in Blue America, which I'm going to do later this afternoon.
Holy smoke! Now here's the other thing that I just, because obviously I do my research. Research is job one, but don't you have a show on CRTV?
No, it's Rebel. I do it once.
Rebel TV. I knew it was one of those. Like I said, research is job one. How often do you do the show on Rebel?
Just once a week.
Just once a week.
Yeah,
dude. Seriously, you're like, are you still like on Army time? Is it like it's like 6 a.m. Get up? Seriously, I just finished a script. I just finished a pilot that I'm turning in, and I feel like I've worked so hard.
Well, you have. If it's worth turning in, you have. No, I know what it takes. It takes dedication. That's just make sure every line is gold. That's the tough thing. Every line's got to be gold.
Well, here's and it's too funny. One of my buddies now, who's writing on Roseanne, used to write on the old Roseanne show and got out of sitcoms. Like 2004, 2005. He got out of sitcoms and he started doing dramas. And he's like, dude, dramas are so easy. Like dramas are so much easier than sitcoms.
Comedy's tough because you're seeking a reaction. It's like trial lawyers. I'm seeking a reaction from 12 people in the box who couldn't talk their way out of a jury. and you're looking for so if you're doing stand up, you're getting laughs. I mean, Twitter is like that too because I get instant feedback. That's why I do. It's my Sudoku.
Dude,
some people are like, I want to do a puzzle.
Hilarious.
Well, I just love writing jokes. I always have since I was a little kid. We had a very funny street, and you got street cred if you were funny.
Yeah,
people appreciated that. Greg Gutfeld actually grew up in the same town I did at the same time. Yeah, I probably ran into him cruising the El Camino in San Mateo.
Wow, that's crazy. But, okay, Go ahead.
But no, I mean, it's and you have to get a sense of how to write a joke.
Yeah.
It takes a while. I never had a systematic approach to it. I did it for years and years. And then I fell in with a guy named Greg Dean who did like comedy workshops. I broke up with this chick because her dog died and there was nothing left, no reason to talk to her. So I started doing, I'm going to try stand-up. So I go to a stand-up workshop, guy named Greg Dean, and he actually sketched out how a joke works. And I understood instinctively. I didn't know how to do it in words.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't have a system for thinking. I'm like, that's what I've been doing. And, after that, I started getting, I didn't make a lot of money, but I got a lot of people wanting to write with me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's too funny. It's like one of the guys that I started out doing stand-up with back in Columbus left a really good law. I find lawyers are good. Lawyers are good stand-ups. It's weird. There's like something, whatever drives people into like, I'm going to be a trial lawyer. I guess it is a performance. They're both performances of sorts. So there's like a weird genetic thread there. Now, your Twitter feed is very funny.
Shamelessness.
a very shameless. Look at me and expect something wonderful.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
no,
hey,
I mean, I was a cavalry officer, which is the most flamboyant branch in the Army. We operated ahead of all the other guys. And we were operating in small groups. So we were and we had our Stetsons. And cavalry guys have a good opinion of themselves, high opinion. I was and then trial lawyer, I mean, you literally have people going, this is my life savings, this is my business, and I'm putting it in your hands. And you have to believe you are the best, or you will be, disavowed.
I can't.
I mean, to get you get up in front of an audience, and while I respect it was like, okay, worst case, I'm not going to get any laughs. I'm going to be pissed at myself. That's the air trauma of stand-up. 50% of the time, you are below average. Half the time, you are going to say, crap, I could have done a lot better. You will always say I could.
That's the worst feeling.
I know. There's a great tweet I wrote today. I said, my woke 8-year-old, I was with my woke 8-year-old, saw Stormy Daniels on the TV because we were in an airport, put down his drink and said, strippers are just tacky who won't commit. People were just howling at how funny that was. I thought it was funny. And I looked down and I go, I shouldn't have said drink. I should have said something specific.
Yeah.
Right?
Chocolate. Yeah.
It has to be, you gotta be specific, preferably with a K sound.
Oh,
put down as chocolate milk would have been funnier.
You got the K sound and the chocolate milk.
Cocoa.
There you go. You've doubled up. You've doubled up on the K.
Oh man, that's like triple Yahtzee word score, Scrabble word score. But you know the feeling, right? You tell a joke and you're like, God, I could have really crushed it.
Oh, it's
or you think of something to top it off with, and you're like, damn it.
Yes.
But it's so challenging. I don't want to go, it's the hardest thing in the world. It's not the hardest thing in the world. Stopping a guy with arterial bleeding after he's been shot in the gut with a AK-47, that is much harder, and that's not something I've done.
And not as funny.
Challenge, and it's nowhere near as funny.
Okay, so here's what I'm trying to do with my little Loftus Party YouTube channel, podcast, blah blah blah. I'm trying to win hearts and minds with comedy. I'm trying to disarm people and go, oh man, I'm just having some fun with you. We're just having some laughs, and hopefully get people to view issues in a different way. I don't feel I'm wasting my time. But it's a long-term strategy. I don't think you are.
Yeah. Look, Andrew Breitbart, who, like most of the rest of North America, was a friend of mine. He was a friend of everybody's. He was very clear, and I really agree with him, that you've got to be funny first. You got to, when you're doing art and you want to get a message, you got to get the art part first. So if you're funny, you can start doing stuff. The thing about comedy now is there's so many areas that you're allegedly not supposed to explore, and I can just feel it. It's like a giant pustule. Eventually someone's going to squeeze it, and we're just going to have this burst of rebel comedy where they're talking about the things that you're not supposed to talk about now: race, sex, transgenders, whatever. I see a lot of people who are trying to use comedy to teach and to help people grow. Gentle laughter that helps us share. I would literally rather blood and glass than have a gentle comedy.
I put a set up on the YouTube channel last week. I was out at the Brea Improv, and I came out. Yeah, and I came out. I came out as a Trump supporter, and it was hilarious. It's hilarious, and it was like you could just feel everybody in the room just be like, "Oh, it's okay, it's okay."
Yeah.
But
yeah, look,
I tell you what,
the first guy who pops the zit's going to have pus all over him, but a lot of success.
Well, it's people. The majority of the audience just howling with laughter, loving it, and a couple people looking at me with shock. And I'm getting so many people that are like warning me. I came out as a Trump supporter, dude. I was on Varney. I was on Varney and Company on Fox Business. Nice. They just wanted to confirm that I actually voted for Trump. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, look, the thing is, if I were still doing comedy, and I'm not allowed to, my last set was one where I got in a fight on stage with Tom Arnold.
Oh boy. Okay.
He's just dumb.
He's making news. Sad. Making news. He's got the key to it all.
Well, that was like 13 years ago. I've not done it since. Though when I do, I do jury closings much like a stand-up set. I also do without jokes, but it has the same feel, and you can see the structure. But I also do when I do public speaking things. I will have a high. I probably don't have a 7 laughs per minute rate, but I probably have a 2 or 3.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's such good training for doing other things.
There is
because it's a way to express yourself because you're in communication with the audience.
Yep.
And if I were doing a Trump bit, of course the first people I would seek out are the ones in the audience who are sitting there with their arms folded, scowling. They're the ones I want to talk to. Everybody else, the guy agreeing with me, I don't care about. Young lady, you seem really upset that I like Trump. Are you another of the ones that Trump banged and dumped? Because I gotta tell you,
we're all gonna meet at the Roadway Inn in Victorville and console each other.
Oh my God, I've done the Roadway Inn in Victorville.
I was making it up.
I have done the Roadway Inn in Victorville.
I was making that up. I think that's hilarious.
No, I've done the Roadway Inn in Victorville. It's a great thing because you could do like, hey man, we're here in Victorville, not like those suckasses in Barstow.
All right, Kurt,
do 20 minutes on meth-crazed weirdos living in abandoned mines out on the edge of town, and they're like, I know how you feel. That's my Uncle Mort.
Five people in the back of the room get up and leave because you've hit too close to home.
I know. It's like, sometimes comedy hurts.
All right. Kurt, I want to thank you for being on. Hopefully we can get you on again in the future. What's the title of your next book? What's the next one you're working on?
Militant Normals. It comes out in October from Hachette.
All right,
and, it's a real book.
I'm in awe, and I celebrate everything. People go out and get Kurt's book. Start cutting lawns now, saving up for his new book that comes out. Pre-order that sucker. All right, Kurt. Thank you so much. I'd love to have you back on. It's too much funny. I'll see you at the Roadway Inn in Victorville.
The Roadway Inn. Who's opening for who? That's the question.
And thanks for listening to this best of episode of Loftus Party. And as always, we'd like to thank everybody who's joined us on Facebook, Twitter, and certainly a big thank you to all of our new Patreons. Also want to say congratulations to Kung Fu Rick, who's going to have to leave us shortly because he's now getting a regular slot on KOKC 1520 AM and 95.3 FM in the greater Oklahoma City area.
Well, thank you very much. I wasn't expecting the shout-out. I was wondering why you were asking me about that a minute ago. But yeah, well, as soon as I know for sure, we'll definitely send out a blast so everybody knows what time it's on, because it'll be on iHeart, so you guys can pretty much listen from anywhere. So feel free.
All right. Well, thank you guys again, and have a great week. Gypsy out.